Hi everybody, we're going to take a few minutes now to walk through the invention part of this very first unit. Invention in writing is really an essential first step to generating ideas. A lot of times we tend to think we know what we want to write about, and you can sometimes bluff your way through a piece of writing by just writing off the top of your head, but your brain stores memories, stores ideas, stores thoughts, makes connections in ways that are really pretty complex. And if you don't take advantage of various techniques which have been developed over a very long period of time by some very smart people, most of whom are specialists in cognitive psychology, which is a science of understanding how we think, you're probably missing out on a lot of very good ideas. Sometimes the best stuff is the stuff that comes at the very end of a brainstorming session or the very end of a listing session. So I'm going to walk you through the basic techniques that are addressed in your textbook, and then you can head on over to Wordhaven, go up to the lab, and begin working through some very specific prompts on your blogs. This is sort of a phrase. You saw this in the demo, the promo for this course that I developed for you. Live, think, write, live. And this came to me as I was putting this presentation together, actually. And the reason is this is kind of the writing process at a glimpse. You live your life, you consider your life, you think about your life, you dig into your life, and from that you will develop things that are worth writing about. And really, those two processes shouldn't be separated. A lot of times when we write for a class, we feel like we're writing in isolation, that we're producing something that has no real meaning for us. And that's a big mistake. I think we really do need to find the inspiration for your writing in what inspires you as a person. So, why do we pre-write? Here's the key here. The tools that you're going to find here in the lab, in Wordhaven, and in your text, and I've also produced a text file for you, really work on a single basic assumption, which is that you're full of stuff. Your thoughts, your ideas, your memories, all the things that make you you are all crammed into your head and connected and tied together in all sorts of very complex ways. What it does is these processes will help you ferret out the stuff that is really good that might be buried a bit more deeply than the surface stuff that you happen to be thinking about today. Here is an overview of the basic techniques that we're going to be using in this. And this point here is key. You want to give yourself some time to do this. Each prompt should take probably about 10 to 20 minutes of writing. And so you also want to not only have time, but a place where you can probably write without being interrupted. If you're in the middle of a free write and one of your kids or roommates or parents, drags you away from the computer, you're going to lose that session. You can go through these in any order. I would start with listing. I think that's not a bad place to start. And I will often recommend starting with listing and free writing, but really any order that strikes you. And I'll give you advance warning that some of these may be useful to you, some of these might not be useful to you. The key is to try them and to go into them with an open mind to see which ones work for you. And some will work possibly for some subjects better than others. So don't abandon any that you struggle with this time around. Also, when you're done writing for the day, you want to leave some time for your process post, which I'll talk about at the very end of this. The first station we'll talk about is a perception check, and this just asks you to kind of think about where you're at right now with whatever subject you're getting into. Do you have prejudices? Do you have preconceptions? Do you have assumptions that might affect how you read, write, and think about this? Listing prompts ask you to generate a list of 10 items. What this listing of 10 items does is it forces you to go past the first couple of obvious choices that'll pop into your head. So this is an extremely useful technique, and since I've discovered it, I use it quite a bit myself. A lot of times the first couple of answers are easy ones. The neat stuff, the interesting stuff, comes down 7, 8, 9, 10 on your list. Free writing and the focused free write are actually two different things. The key to both is setting a time limit and then writing until you get to that time limit. And for both of them, you keep writing no matter what. If something comes to mind that doesn't seem to make sense to you, write through it and keep going until you come back to your subject. Regular free writing just lets you write about anything. Focused free writing has you free writing on a specific prompt. Questioning. Your text gives you a number of journalist questions. as prompts for generating ideas. This again forces you to look at your subject from multiple angles. So again, an extremely useful technique. Brainstorming is something that's often used as a group activity in companies. Somebody gets up in front of a big board and people start throwing ideas at them. Really what you're looking at is trying to get everything you know, everything you can think about out on paper in no particular order. The mind map or clustering is sort of a visual approach to brainstorming. What it does is it asks you to draw a map of your ideas on a subject. Your text shows you an example of this, and I will in my blog share this as well. One thing this allows you to do is jump back and forth between different ideas in a way that free writing can make difficult. When you're free writing, you're kind of bound by the page. In other words, you start writing and then you go from sentence to sentence to sentence. And if you think about something you'd like to add earlier on, it's hard to get in there because you're all packed in with all that text. With clustering, you write down a series of ideas, draw a circle around them, and then just draw lines from those and jot around each the main ideas connected to them. And this allows you to jump back and forth. You can go to one cluster of ideas, add to it, go back to another one, add to that one. So it can be very useful. And if you're a visual learner, this is oftentimes the way to go. The mixing it up exercise, which is in your textbook, I don't include it in the Wordhaven lab, but it's one that can be worth visiting. What it does is it asks you to really think about how someone else might feel about your subject. So, for example, if you're doing a persuasive essay, mixing it up might ask you to step back and ask yourself, okay, how would somebody who disagrees with me on this feel about this subject? Rinse, repeat. I would recommend working through all of these bit by bit, not all at once. Do a few, set them aside, come back to them. If one works especially well, feel free to try it again, but I would like you, especially this first time around, to work through all of them. Take some time to practice all of them. And of course, do not forget your blog throughout. And this is your writing journal. And especially for this first unit, which the writing you're doing is your blog. You don't actually have an essay you're producing at the end of it. Your writing journal, your blog, is a place you'll record your thoughts as you're producing and exploring ideas. This is a chance for me to look over your shoulder as you're exploring. The last post will be a bit more substantial. I'll ask you to summarize what you found. But in the meantime, what you'll be doing is making process posts. And here is what the process post looks like. You create a new post in your blog. You write process as the subject line or somewhere in the subject line, and then something that refers to where you're at in your writing. So let's say you've been doing some exploring in Second Life and you're feeling frustrated. Okay. Well, what you can do then is get in there and in that post reflect on what was going on at that minute. For this brainstorming, these brainstorming activities, these invention activities, you might actually step back and just reflect on what worked for you, what didn't work for you, what you prefer, you think you'll use in the future, what you don't think you'll use in the future. This is really what your text calls a minute paper, but other places are called process posts because they make you think about your writing process. Finally, was anything unclear or particularly challenging as you worked on that given day? And this is referred to in your text as the muddiest point. Okay, so that's it. Well, get inventing. This PowerPoint is also available for download and viewing without this commentary in the Unit 1 packet. So don't hesitate to go over and look at it there. It's a fairly detailed PowerPoint, so you can actually get by without listening to my droning voice. And of course, as always, be sure to come to me with any questions.